Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're tackling trusses, the backbone of bridges, roofs, and so many iconic structures. If you ever wondered how engineers design these lightweight yet super strong frameworks, you're in the right place. In this tutorial, we'll cover what trusses are, the method of joints, and I'm also going to give you pro tips so that you can avoid common mistakes when solving truss problem. A truss is a lightweight, rigid structure made up of straight members connected at joints. They're entirely built from triangles. Because triangles have the strongest geometric shape, they distribute forces evenly, preventing bending. So first of all, we're going to name our joints if you are studying engineering mechanics, or we're going to name our nodes if you are studying the finite element method. You can choose either numbers or letters. So as you can see, a truss is composed of at least 3 members or 3 elements. So now let's take a closer look at an element or a member. So these members are only designed to carry axial loads. So it can be either under compression or tension. So it is under compression when it is subjected to compressive forces, and it is under tension when it is subjected to tensile forces. So now let's put back our member. So our truss will be under a load, and also have to know the dimensions of our truss. So as an engineer, I'll be interested in determining the forces acting on each member so that we can come up with things like stress. There are two methods of determining the forces acting on members. We have the method of joints and the method of sections. In this video, we're going to use the common method, which is the method of joints. On the method of joints, like the name says, we're going to look on the joints of our structure. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 joints. So now what we are going to do, we have to look at the joint which has few unknowns. What I'm trying to say is, if we look at node D, or if we look at joint D, as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 members at joint D. We don't have a force right there. But if we look at joint C, you can see we have 2 members and we also have a force. That means we have few unknowns there. In this case, it's not wise to start with joint D, but it's wise to start with joint C. So now let's take a closer look at joint C. We said these members only allow axial loads. So I'm going to assume that these members are under tension. So as you can see, we have 2 members. We have member BC and we have member DC. Or you can say we have member BC and we have member CD. We're going to name the forces acting along member BC as FBC and force acting along member CD as FCD. If we look at our load, which is 2 kilonewtons, it's perpendicular to BC, so that means it has no effect on the member BC, but it has effect on member CD, right? But since it is acting at an angle, that means we have to resolve. So it's time for us to put our axis and also find the value of theta. We have said the truss is made up of triangles, so that means we can use similarity to determine the value of theta, right? So this is the triangle that we have. So from A to C, it's going to be 3 plus 3, that is going to be 6. Then from A to E, it's 4 meters, right? Now we have to calculate the value of BD, or the length of BD. We're going to use similarity. So as you can see, we have 2 triangles right here. We have the bigger triangle, which is ACE, and the small triangle, which is BDC. So if we use similarity, you can say y over 3 should correspond to 4 over 6. Now we have to determine the value of y. So we're going to start by cross multiplying. And we're going to say that our y is equal to 2. But when we are resolving a force into components, we're only interested in the value of cos theta and sin theta. So that means we have to find the length of that hypotenuse. So we're going to use Pythagoras theorem. So we're going to say the square root of 3 squared plus y squared, and y is 2, and we can find the length of the hypotenuse. So cos theta is going to be adjacent of hypotenuse, that is going to be 3 over the square root of 3 squared plus 2 squared, and if we simplify that, we're going to get 0.83. And sin theta is going to be opposite, which is 2 over hypotenuse, which is the square root of 3 squared plus 2 squared. And if we simplify that, we're going to get 0.55. Now that we have everything we need, we're going to use the static equilibrium equation to determine the value of FBC and FCD. We're going to start by resolving along the y-axis, and I'm going to take my upwards as positive. We have a force which is acting along the x-axis but in the downward direction, which is 2 kilonewtons. So I'm going to say minus 2. Now we're going to resolve FCD along the x and along the y. So along the y, it's going to be FCD sin theta, right? And it is also going to act downwards because we've assumed that it's tensile. So we're going to say negative 2 plus negative FCD sin theta should be equal to 0. Now it's a matter of finding the value of FCD, right? So we're going to start by putting 2 to the other side. Now we have to divide both sides by negative sine theta, so that's going to be left with FCD. And sine theta said it's 0.55. So now we have 2 over 0.55. So if we simplify, we're going to get FCD, but the answer is going to be negative. So when the answer is negative, that means we've assumed the wrong direction. So that means we're going to have a compressive force instead of a tensile force. And the answer is going to be negative 3.61 kilonewtons. Now we have to find FBC, and find FBC we're going to resolve along the x-axis. So first of all, we start by writing our static equilibrium equation. All the forces acting along the x-axis should equal to 0. So if we look at the force that we have, which is 2 kilonewtons, it's acting perpendicular to BC. So that means it has no effect on the member BC. So we only have negative FBC because we have assumed that FBC is tensile, so that means it's going in the negative x direction. And also FCD is also going in the negative x direction, but in this case we have to resolve it, and it's going to be negative FCD cos theta. So our static equilibrium equation is going to be negative FBC minus FCD cos theta should be equal to 0. So the good thing is we have FCD, which is negative 0.361, right? And we have cos theta. But since our FBC is negative, so that means we have to divide both sides by the negative. So if we divide the negative by negative, we're going to end up with a positive. So that means we're going to have 3.61 times 0.83, and our final answer is going to be 3 kilonewtons. Since it is positive, that means it's a tensile force. We have assumed the good direction. Find the forces acting on other members, we have to choose a different joint. And we're going to choose joint B, because on joint B we have few unknowns. So in joint B, we have a 3 kilonewton force which is acting downwards. On my left hand side, I'm going to have FAB, and I'm going to assume that the member AB is under tension, so the force will be going to my left. And on the right side, we have FBC, and we don't have to assume because we have already calculated FBC and we said it was a tensile force. So the direction of FBC will be going to my left side. And finally, on the member BD, we're going to assume that it's under tension, so we're going to have a tensile force which will be acting downwards. So like what we did, we're going to write our static equilibrium equation. So first of all, we're going to start by resolving along the y-axis, and I'm going to take my upwards as positive, right? So what we're going to do, just have to write our static equilibrium equation. So what forces do we have? So all the forces FAB and FBC are perpendicular to the y-axis, so that means they don't have any effect. So I'm going to have negative 3 minus FBD, and this should be equal to 0. So now it's a matter of making FBD subject the formula, and if we do that, we're going to get a negative force which is opposite to our assumed direction, and that's indicate that the member BD is under compression. Now we have to find FAB. So to find FAB, we're going to write our static equilibrium equation along the x-axis, and I'm going to take the right side as positive, right? So we have negative FAB and also negative FBC, because they're going opposite to my direction, to my right side, right? Okay, so it's going to be negative FAB minus FBC. So now it's a matter of making FAB side of the formula, because we already have FBC and we said it's 3 kilonewtons and it's a tensile force, so that means we have to put a positive, right? Okay, so now that means FAB and FBC should be equal, and if you substitute, we're going to see that FAB is also a tensile force and it's 3 kilonewtons. So the last joint that we're going to look on, we're going to look on joint D. Why? Because now we have the force acting on member BD, which is a known thing. Now we have the force acting on the member DC, which is a known thing. So only left in determining AD and AE. So let's isolate our member right here. Now we have to give the direction to our members. So we say that BD is under compression, so that means at joint D, the force BD should be going upwards, and we've also said that CD is under compression, so that means at joint D, FCD should be going also upwards. And FID, we don't know, we're going to assume that it's under tension, so that means it is also going to go upwards. And finally on ED, we're going to assume that it's a tensile force, so that means it will be going down. So now let's name our forces, and the other thing we have to name our joint also. So as you can see, we have 4 different forces. So that means we have to be very careful when resolving. So let's start by determining very important angles, right? So if we take our triangle right here, we're just going to take the little part, right? Okay. So this part is going to help us to determine the value of theta. So this little triangle is going to help us to resolve FCD into components. And we also need to resolve FAD, so that means we need another triangle. So on our first triangle, we're going to draw this line and we're going to take that little triangle and put it on FAD. So luckily for us, our triangles are the same. So the main reason why we're drawing these triangles is because we need the value of theta. But when resolving triangles, we're only interested in the value of cos theta and sin theta. So that means we need the hypotenuse. So the hypotenuse is simple, is given by the square root of 3 squared plus 2 squared. And we've already calculated it is 3.6, right? So just we have to put our hypotenuse. So to find the value of cos theta, we're going to say adjacent of hypotenuse. So it's going to be 3 over 3.6. And find the value of sin theta is going to be opposite of hypotenuse, and it's going to be 2 over 3. And just the same for all triangles. So we only have to simplify those values, and cos theta is going to be 0.83 and sin theta is going to be 0.56. Now we have to write our static equilibrium equations, and we have to include all the angles which have effects on the y-axis and also on the x-axis. So now let's write our static equilibrium equation along the y-axis, and I'm going to take my upwards as positive. If we look at the diagram, we can see that only FBD is along the y-axis, so that means all the other 3 forces have to be resolved. You have to be very careful when resolving. The side that includes the angle theta is going to be cos theta, and the side that doesn't include the angle theta is going to be sin theta. So that means we're going to have positive FBD. And on FAD, if we resolve FAD along the y-axis, it is not going to include the angle theta, so it's going to be FAD sin theta. And if we resolve FCD along the y-axis, it is not going to include theta, so it's going to be FCD sin theta. And finally, if we resolve FDE along the y-axis, it is also not going to include the angle theta, so it's going to be FDE sin theta. But remember, now FD is acting in the opposite direction, so it's going to be negative. Let's write what we have, right? So as you can see, we only don't have FDE and FAD. All the other forces, we have them. So now it's a matter of substituting. So let's substitute the values that we have. Remember, a compression force, we put a negative, and for a tensor force, we put a positive. And we have cos theta and sin theta. Now we have 2 unknowns and 1 equation, so that means we need another equation so that we can come up with simultaneous equation. So now let's simplify, right? Now the other thing that you can do, you can either make FAD side with the formula or FTE, right? So let's start by dividing by 0.56 on both sides, and after that we can make FAD side with the formula. And if we do that, we're going to see that FAD is going to be 8.97 plus FDE, and we're going to write this as equation number 1. We're going to resolve along the x-axis, so that means we have to write the static equilibrium equation. So all forces acting along the x-axis, since our structure is rigid, should be equal to 0. We don't have a force which lies along the x-axis, right? But FBD will not have effect. Why? Because it is going to be perpendicular to the x-axis, so I'm not going to include it. So let's start with the positive ones. So on the positive ones, we're going to have FCD, but we have to resolve it. And if we resolve it, it's going to lie on the side with the angle theta, right? So we're going to have FCD cos theta. Now let's go to FAD. So FAD is going to act on the opposite side, so it's going to be negative, right? And when you resolve it, it's going to go along the side with the angle theta, so it's going to be FAD cos theta. And final, FDE is also acting on the opposite side, so it's going to be negative FDE. Since it's going on the side with the angle theta, we're going to write FDE cos theta. So now let's substitute. We have cos theta and also have FCD. So now we have to make FAD subject to the formula so that we can equate equation 1 and equation 2. So let's simplify right here. So we have to make FAD subject to the formula so that we can just equate equation 1 and equation 2. So that means we have to divide each and everything by 0.83, right? And if we do that, we're going to see that FAD is equal to negative 3.61 negative FDE. I have good news, guys. So our channel is now memberships, so that means you can You have access to watch members only videos, members only shorts, and members only super chats, members only live stream. So if you want to join, click the link in the description. So now that we have two equations, all you have to do is to equate equation 1 to equation 2. So we're going to have 8.97 plus FDE equal to negative 3.61 negative FDE. Now let's group like terms. So that means we have to divide both sides by 2 so that we can come up with the value of FDE. Right, so since the value is negative, so that means it's under compression. And now to find the value of FAD, that means we have to substitute FDE in equation number 1. And if we do that, we're going to have 8.97 minus 6.29. We're going to get our answer as 2.68. Since it is positive, that means FAD is under tension. So as you can see, we've managed to come up with the forces acting on the members and also determine their state. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the method of sections. So don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.